They say we're changing the world with technology, but are we really? What is the point of technological advancements if they don't reach the people who actually need them? A very good morning to the esteemed panel of judges. I'm Pranjal Jain, and along with my teammates Chirag Sethi, Pulkit Sehgal, and Sarthak Bindal, we represent Shaheed Sukhdev College of Business Studies from India. And we're extremely honored to present before you our vision of how WeChat can leverage its technical expertise in helping SMEs achieve sustainable growth. Next slide. So, to give you a brief overview of how we have planned our 20 minutes of the presentation, we'll start by understanding the company and the given context. Moving forward, we'll see some of the core issues through a comprehensive solution landscape, justifying our choice, and delving deep into the details of our plan. Post that, we'll shift gears to implementation and look at the proposed timeline and risk that we foresee. We'll end by trying to specifically quantify and justify the forecast we have for the future. That is to say, 5.3 billion RMB of additional revenue generated and 5.4 million additional vendors onboarded. So let's see how that happens. First of all, looking at the company profile. Next slide. WeChat was launched back in 2011 as an instant messaging app. However, the growth of the company over the years has been nothing but phenomenal. WeChat has continuously leveraged its technical expertise from introducing moments to QR codes to expanding into fintech by launching WeChat Pay. They've been consistently trying to achieve their ESG objective of value for users, tech for good, with a specific focus on SMEs and the concerns they face. So what exactly do these concerns look like? We have identified 4 major problems faced by SMEs in China. Next slide. First of all, the payment method challenge, which includes the expensive mini POS systems and scanners, as well as the costly QR code printouts, along with the silent merchants who lack confidence in their ability to use digital payments. Now, this, along with the payment confirmation challenge, for which the voice broadcast feature launched by WeChat wasn't the most effective solution, and we'll explain you why. So people inputting wrong amounts further exasperated the problem. And thirdly, SME owners face grave difficulties in striking a work-life balance. Since business management was a challenge, they had to manage all the business administration work themselves, compromising on their personal commitments. Lastly, restricted access to microfinance and insurance, coupled with lack of trust in using QR codes, led to the merchant security challenge. So now that we have a basic idea of what the problems look like and what are the problems being faced, let's look at the customer journey. So to understand this better and put all of it into perspective, we have taken a hypothetical example which covers both the characters given in the case problem. Presenting to you Mr. Cheng. Mr. Cheng is a Chinese grocery shop owner who has to incur the expense of purchasing POS systems and scanners for his shop. He is unable to access finance required for the growth of his shop due to the risk of skip payments. And currently, he's in a very troublesome financial situation because he can't really access funds. Now, this is exactly where WeChat steps in to actually create a change using technology and adding value for both the SME and the SME owner, ensuring collective growth and personal impact to many more people like Mr. Cheng. Let us see how that can happen.
Introducing to you our twofold strategy, relieve and reach. Relieve, where we plan to relieve the SME owners by helping them streamline their business operations through our VBiz enterprise solution. And reach, through which we will be able to make our service accessible to more and more vendors across the country and connect them to financing options. Next slide, please. The VBiz enterprise solution would be our flagship product, and we will operate on a freemium model here, which basically means that some services will be available for free for everyone, while the rest would require the vendor to purchase a subscription model. For this, the vendors would have a different profile and interface as compared to the retail users, and will allow them to unlock a bunch of features which will be able only to the businesses. This account can be accessed on any device which has the WeChat app and with the login credential of the vendor account, and eliminates the need to keep the same phone at the business outlet at all the time. Through VBiz, we are basically eliminating the need for purchasing expensive POS systems by introducing unique QR codes for facilitation of every transaction, which would appear on the app itself. Basically, to tackle the problem of wrong amounts being credited, the merchant will himself input the bill amount, after which a QR code will be generated and the customer can pay through it, streamlining the entire process and making it convenient for both the merchants and the customer. Now let's understand this better with the help of an example. Assume I go to Mr. Cheng's grocery shop and my bill comes out to be around 100 RMB, right? Now Mr. Cheng will feed the bill amount, which is the 100 RMB, into his VBase app, and that will allow him to create a custom QR code for me, where I will only be able to pay 100 RMB. This basically allows Mr. Cheng to ensure that I don't skip payments, and he can prevent a potential loss of revenue along with wrong amounts credited at times. It also solves the problem of the mixing of personal and business transaction, which was a major problem with the voice confirmation, which the WeChat allowed earlier, as identified by the WeChat's product team. Additionally, we will also have an accounting feature on the VBase platform, which will allow people like Mr. Cheng to create monthly, quarterly, or annual financial reports without any hassle. This was because most of the transactions would already be recorded on the WeChat platform, and any additional transactions which take place through any other means like cash can be added in order to make the accurate financials. This will make the life of SME owners way easier, since they will not have to create all the financials manually, and will reduce the chances of error as well. This will also provide SME owners more free time for their personal commitments and have a personal life. Additionally, we also look to leverage Tencent's expertise in social artificial intelligence, which is to say virtual assistant and bots, and customer service to help the merchants with any questions they may have and guide them throughout their journey. This will also help with the problem of silent merchants by creating more awareness about the product. Next slide, please. So as mentioned earlier, VBiz would operate on a freemium model, with VBiz Pro being the premium version. Here, they will be able to access some additional features, which will obviously be constantly updated, but the current two features would be these two, right? The first, customer management solutions. Through the platform, we plan to provide a mini CRM system on the app where they can get all the customer analytics in one place, like new orders, churn rate, ARPU, order fulfillment timelines, etc., which will allow them to organize their efforts better and more efficiently, since they would have now access to detailed customer analytics, which would help them come up with better and more focused strategies, ensuring sustainable growth of the business, which is to say the SMEs. Now, the second main feature would be the inventory management solutions. They will be able to manage their inventory on the app with sub features like invoicing, stock notifications, cataloging, etc. This would save the hassle of recording things manually and placing orders and handling cash payments. Shop owners will also have access to economic order quantity, which would further help them in cost optimization. Coming to the pricing plan for the same, we think WeChat can easily charge around 100 RMB per year with a 30-day free premium trial. Additionally, with the pilot of this program, we think every year the number of merchants which will be onboarded for this premium plan would increase with a CAGR of 53%. Next slide, please. Now, WeChat has access to a lot of user data, right? Which now we think that WeChat can easily leverage this data to help SMEs and provide them access to financing and insurance options. Now, how do we plan to do this, right? Basically, what we will do is we will provide access to financial and alternate data to financial institutions, which make use of this information to provide cheap and collateral-free loans to SMEs, even if they lack a credit history. Right? I think that's the major problem that SMEs face in today's world, that they're not able to access cheap credit just because they haven't taken loans in the past. Now, similarly, insurance companies can make use of this data to make informed decisions and give insurance to SMEs with cheaper premiums. This will allow SMEs to get the much needed finance for growth and survival. Now, you might be wondering, what about the privacy concerns which might arise because of all this, right? But the answer is very simple. We will only be providing access to the data of those people who consent to do so, right? So basically, there'll be a consent form on the app, and only if the user agrees to provide their data, then only we'll be providing that data to the bank, and then they'll be using that data to do a credit analysis.
Right. Now, addressing the privacy concerns that were raised due to the presence of external links on WeChat. Now, we propose leveraging WeChat's strong technical expertise and using machine learning algorithms such as neural networks, as explained in this slide, to identify the URL links that might be fraud or contain viruses. A neural network is trained to go through all such data and figure out any outliers in the data. Now, similar other machine learning algorithms can also be trained to help us in identifying such outlying data points. This can then be used to red flag any such URLs and give a warning to the user before they open the link. If I have to give a similar user case, this is similar to how spam emails are also identified, right? Next, moving on to the next slide. Now, this slide basically addresses the problem of reaching out to the masses in the rural areas or those people who are not so tech savvy or and lack digital literacy to register themselves as a merchant on the app. Now, the sari sari model is very common in Southeast Asia in the Philippines, which is nothing but local mom and pop retail stores set up in different localities to cater to the need of the local public. Right now, such stores are present everywhere, just under different names. However, this basic model remains the same, no matter whether it is an urban area or even a rural settlement. Right. So now we can make use of such a prevailing network and assign these shop owners as our point of contacts or POCs. Let us understand the customer journey here. Any customer who lacks digital literacy can just go to a local store and the shop owner can get him or her registered with us. In return, we pay a small fees to the POCs based on the number of registrations done by them, right? Further, let us also understand that such a model will enhance the trust among the merchants who later on become the silent partners, as we have faced this problem earlier as well, because now they have a POC who they already know personally and have registered on the app through them. So there's this sense of reassurance among the merchants. Also, we seem to have skipped a slide here, but we also plan on using this very model to ensure sustainability in our strategy as well, since that is something WeChat has always focused on. Let us understand that shifting to such a mobile application to the soft POS and all of that will create a lot of e-waste in the form of POS machines, mini POS, and scanners. Again, all of these as well can be collected through these POCs itself, the Sari Sari POC model that we have introduced, which and those scanners and machines can then be reused or recycled, ensuring circularity in our operations. This again is based on the three R's, that is reduce, reuse, and recycle. Next, moving on to the implementation of the relieve and reach strategy that we have. We have done a risk analysis here showing the probability of each risk and the impact that it might have on our overall target, as shown in the matrix on the left hand side. We have also worked on the mitigation strategies for the same. So first is that the store owners might be unwilling to partner with us, as I explained in the Sari Sari POC model. But again, the fees that we're offering is a considerable amount, and it's just an added bonus for them in their monthly revenue. So I think this would be very lucrative for them as well. Right. Second is that we might face a lack of registrations on the VBiz Pro app, and its revenue might be of slight concern to us. But again, the free version that we have introduced will help us onboard enough customers to mitigate such a risk from the profitability aspect of things. Lastly, the inventory management services to be offered under the VBiz Pro again will require additional effort as due to the lack of such operations in the past by WeChat. But given the strong technological background that WeChat has, WeChat should be able to develop it efficiently. Next is the timeline for the implementation of this strategy. We understand that such strategies should be rolled out in a phased manner for them to be successful, and hence we plan to expand the strategy slowly to all different parts of the country and ensure effective implementation. The timeline also demonstrates by when do we expect the proper and complete implementation of each strategy mentioned.
Right. Now it is important to understand the financials of what we are planning to do. Of all the strategies, we believe we generate enough revenue and incur minimum expenditure to create maximum profitability as well as maximum value for the users. Now, first, it is important to understand the overall number of merchants that we onboard to our WeChat platform. That includes the WeChat payments, WeChat Pay platform that we onboard, and because of which the revenue that is added. Now, overall, we believe in the next 5 years, in all our strategies, because of all our strategies, we'll be able to onboard more than nearly 5 million um, merchants, and which belong to small and medium businesses, which own small and medium enterprises. Now, assuming that one enterprise conducts one SME enterprise conducts nearly 100,000 RMB of processed payments through WeChat every year, and a 0.5% transaction fees that WeChat Pay has, we believe we'll be able to rake in a revenue of 4.5 billion RMB in the next 5 years. This will happen in a manner that 500,000 500,000 merchants will be onboarded in the first year, which will be increased by 40% in the second and third and fourth and the fifth year respectively, wherein the revenue added be uh, will be consistent with that and will increase subsequently. Now, it is important to understand that in the graph we have mentioned revenue added as 1,000 RMB. So by the end of 5 years, we'll be able to generate 4.5 billion RMBs, whereas only 82 million RMBs will be spent on onboarding such merchants, because we'll also be paying our POCs and we'll also be paying to train them. This is a very important metric for us going forward, since not only is this our expense, but these POCs are our partners, and we strive to maintain a good partnership with our POCs going ahead. Now, when we talk about the financials of a particular strategy, that is the enterprise solution that we are offering through our VBIS model. Now, it is important to understand that the price that needs to be set for this particular strategy, for this particular product that we are offering, needs to be consistent with the competitors. And after analyzing our competitors' price, we come up with a price subscription of 100 RMB for the first year, which will be increased after 3 years by 20%. And we hope to acquire around 500,000 users in the first year, which will double in the second year, grow by 50% in the third year, subsequently 40% in the fourth year, and then 30% in the fifth year. Since our base will be small, it will be initially, the growth will be higher in the first 2 to 3 years. Now, it is also important to understand that since our price increases by 20% in the fourth and fifth year, our total revenue that is generated out of our VBIS strategy is 879 million RMB. Now, we understand this amount might sound a lot, but the math we have done is pretty simple. And our projections might also take a hit by 20%, for which we predict a 700 million RMB revenue. That is the worst case scenario, and more than a billion RMB in the best case scenario. Now, given that our cost, now our revenue, as you can see, increases by 60% year on year on an average, and we will be acquiring so many customers that will also offer them further services in the future. Now, when we discuss the expenditure of our strategy, it is important to understand that the expenditure will mostly be done on marketing. Yes, there will be app development cost in the beginning, which we estimate to be around 2 million RMB, which is a one-time cost, and then the operations expenditure, which we assume to be 40% of app development cost in the first year, which increases every year by 5%. Moreover, our marketing strategy will also entail an expenditure of 5 million RMB in the first year, which will also increase by 5% year on year till 2026. In the next 5 years, we'll be spending 34 million RMB on marketing, 4.4 million on operations, and 2 million on app development costs, which a total expenditure of nearly 42 million RMB. Now, this is important to understand that this 40 to 42 million RMB that we're going to spend on all these strategies, as compared to this figure of 879 million RMB that we generate as revenue. So a significant portion of this is generated, will be termed as net profit later. And this expenditure, we understand that it might seem very less, is just the expenditure on getting the strategy started and maintaining it. We understand that there will also be various different expenditures that we might not have accounted for, but given that our revenue is upwards of 850 million RMB, that is a likely estimate, and could also rake in 1 billion RMB if things go well, we believe our solutions will lead to a lot of profitability and value creation for Tencent, for WeChat, and it will also lead to user benefit and it also lead for tech for good, which is our motto. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. The time goes very fast. Now it's a time for the question and answer. We have 15 minutes. The 15 minutes countdown start from now. Let's hear the first question from the judges.
Hi, maybe I start first. Thank you very much for the presentation. Just one question. So your business model assume like incremental customers being on board, right? What's your assumption on attrition? In other words, customer that may come in, may leave, and how that is incorporated into your financial projection, please.
Right. Thank you, Judge, for your question. We believe our attrition rate will be moderate and not too high, because first, our services will be free initially for the first month, and our services will be cheaper than our competitors. So we believe that our attrition rate will be lower. And since WeChat's reach is higher, and WeChat is something that every business in China knows, we believe that we won't be having a very high attrition rate. And in our model, we have already accounted for our attrition rate, because the growth rate that we have seen over here in the users is the real growth rate after discounting the attrition rate, because we believe that even after discounting the attrition rate, we will have enough growth in our business model. We believe we have so much reach, and because of our marketing expenditures and continued improvement in our app and our business model, the number of merchants that we onboard, the number of subscriptions that we onboard will be higher and higher and higher, even after accounting for attrition rate.
Okay.
Further, just to add on one thing, if I can, what Sarthak talked about was about the VBiz Pro. However, let us also understand that the VBiz, the main offering, is still free for all to use. And that would just lead to an increase in users. And the revenue in that case comes from the transaction cost that we charge from them, right? So again, that user base should be much more secure as compared to the VBiz Pro. But again, for the VBiz Pro, I think Sarthak has explained quite sufficiently.
Can I just ask a question around competition? Is there a challenge from any competitor?
Sorry. Apologies to interrupt. Thank you for your question, Raj. We believe that, yes, competition might be an important factor to consider. However, it is important to understand that when WeChat as an app offers so many customer or customer management solutions together in one super app, we believe our reach then will be higher. It is important to understand that our consumer is already there on our WeChat Pay WeChat Pay platform. For the customer, for the small and medium enterprise business owner, it will be easier to come to onboard on our model, on our enterprise solutions model, because we're already offering them such a good service at such just a transaction rate of 0.5%, which is very minimal. And given that we are already offering them so much in a packaged bundle, it will be easier for them to be onboarded. And only when they see that they are being benefited from the solutions we offer, they will realize that they need our service. And hence, we believe that because of our wider reach and known name in the Chinese market, we will be able to beat the competition in the long run.
I would just like to... Go ahead, Pulkit.
Yeah, so just to add here, I think Sarthak covered how we are better than the competitors and how we have taken that into consideration while strategizing and while even considering the financials. But also, even if we were to name some competitors, and which we considered while brainstorming and strategizing and seeing whether there's any precedence for our strategy, what we brainstormed about, we figured out that the main competitor of WeChat Pay was obviously Alipay, right? But at the same time, we couldn't figure out any comprehensive enterprise solution which is being offered by Alipay or any other competitor, be it ePay, be it GoPay, or any other upcoming organizations. And we think the enterprise solution that we are offering for SMEs is something that is unparalleled, and none of the competitors have been able to take that opportunity as of yet.
Just adding one more point to this. As we mentioned in our presentation as well, all of this is a long-term strategy that will stretch for the next 5 or 6 or 7 years, right? So we'll definitely keep on adding other value-added services as well, which has been a problem for WeChat in the past. So we can inculcate all of that in this same strategy, and it would be easier for us to implement it later on as well.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. Just a very quick one from me. For the WeBiz model that you have just discussed, how about the cost at the company's end to actually develop that? Do you have any thoughts about that?
Oh, yes. Thank you for your question, Judge. Our WeBiz model will have a few costs that we have discussed. Now, the major cost areas that over here, as you mentioned, the major cost areas we believe will be marketing expenditure. We believe that it is important for us to understand that a lot of our users might not know about our service even after we offer that in the particular app. So we believe regular marketing expenditure is one big expenditure which we see as an investment going forward, which will have to be continuous and which will have to keep on increasing till a certain while so that we acquire a lot more subscribers to this business model. Secondly, the operations expenditure, which includes all the employee costs, which include the added resources that we might have to add to our model, and all the other miscellaneous costs in the operations will need to be invested on, which adds up to around 4.4 million RMB in the next 5 years. And these are the expenditures just to get the app going. There will be other ancillary expenditures as well. Moreover, the third biggest expenditure that we see is the app development cost. App development initially won't be that big a problem for a company like Tencent or WeChat Pay because it's already a mammoth company which has expertise in all of this. So for it to additionally get all these features in a particular app will be a little challenging a little costly in the beginning. But going ahead, of course, we'll be able to improve our product offering as well as increase our price in the fourth and fifth year, which will cover the cost and in fact more than cover the cost. And these are the direct costs. These three heads that we see going forward will be our major expenditures.
And for both the POC model and this WeBiz, if I understand it's correct, you're recommending both to go in parallel, right?
The POC model is a little different. The POC model will majorly be there so that we are able to onboard merchants on a WeChat Pay app. So just to get them started on WeChat Pay, we will be helping them ease in the registration, the verification, and getting them onboarded to our WeChat Pay app, not necessarily our WeBiz model as of now, because our first goal is to get as many merchants, as many SME merchants as we can through to our WeChat Pay app so that they use our app for all their transactions. And that will be a transaction fee of 0.5% that we will be charging, which is, of course, a very a lower than industry rate. But given that we are having so many SME merchants, the amount that we rake in as a revenue because of high number of merchants will be a lot higher than our competitors.
If I just may clarify your doubt, so basically, WeBiz these to cater to all the problems that were being faced while onboarding the people who lack digital literacy to register themselves. Whereas when we talk about the WeBiz strategy, it is a long-term strategy where we plan to onboard all of our merchants through this one particular strategy. So I think I hope that your doubt is clarified.
Thank you.
And earlier on, we touched about privacy, in which you get customer consent and all that. Have you thought about data leakage? I think the risks of data leakage and what you're going to do about it.
Yes, I'll just get started here. I think Tencent's main focus overall with respect to the business operations and the companies that it invests in is cloud computing, right? And I think cloud computing is a very smart way in order to protect all of this data while having it saved in the servers of the firm, right? So for example, if it was a lot of financial data about Mr. Cheng as well, that all that data would be stored within those cloud computers that is controlled by the firm, and that obviously they are bound to not share those particular that particular data to any other third party source without the consent of let's say for use in case Mr. Cheng, right? Yeah.
Just adding on to that, even when we're collecting consent from people, we'll be collecting consent from people only who are willing to, partner with financial institutions and get microfinance loans as well as insurance. We don't necessarily need to just collect and send out the big data of all individuals registered on our app. That service is available for everyone, but would be availed only by individuals who are facing a problem in that area.
Additionally, just one last point to get into the technicalities of how we manage our data. It is important that that Tencent as a company extensively uses encryption and decryption models so that the data that they acquire and the data that they store is encrypted into stuff that is not understandable, even if the data is leaked. And then the decryption models are important so that when we finally need the data to be provided to our partners, our financial partners, we decrypt the data and then provide it. So this constant use of encryption, decryption, and storage in a very privately locked, cloud service. It's important that Tencent as a company takes responsibility for that, and of course helps WeChat through the process as well.
Okay, thank you. So go back to on customer. So you have different models and marketing tools and all that. How do you cater for? Let's go back to specifics about training. How do you cater for customers who are less tech savvy? How do you get them on board and get them used to it? Any specific plans?
So for the customers who are less tech savvy, that is to say lack digital literacy and want to get onboarded on WeChat, be it WeChat Pay or the general app that we're suggesting, for learning and development purposes, we have suggested the Sari POC model, which has been explained by all the members. I'll just go over it quickly. So what essentially happens is that if I as a merchant want to be onboarded on the app, but I lack the digital literacy to do so, I can approach the nearest mom and pop store owner who will be trained by the WeChat product team itself. And then the store owner on my behalf would onboard me on the app. So that essentially solves my problem of not knowing how to do it. At the same time, the owner will also teach the basics of how to operate the app to the merchant so that in the future, the merchant just has an easier way of going around the app.
In other words,
if I may add.
Yeah, sure, go ahead. No worries.
Right. Sarthak, can you move back a few slides where we're explaining the VBiz model? Right. So there we're talking about training and tutorial to use this application. Now we're using social AI and the voice tutorials in this very solution, so that even those people who are not very comfortable with using such mobile applications can easily follow the voice tutorials and can also ask any of their doubts through this chatbot that will be there on the screen. So that will smoothen the entire onboarding process for them.
And in case you're thinking that the business owner might have a disincentive because he will have to pay the mom and pop owner, he does not have to pay the mom and pop owner for all the clarification on onboarding process. WeChat Pay or Tencent will be directly paying that particular helper, that particular point of contact, and the service is free of cost for the merchant.
In terms of your customer, your customer, do you target to all, or you have a specific segment to target on?
Right. So since we know that entire model is based on SMEs, right? Since the entire case is based on SMEs, but initially our major focus would be targeting the smaller of those smaller and medium firms, since we think they would be the ones with who will be facing the most amount of problems. They'll be the ones with a lesser amount of revenue compared to medium enterprises, which earn a considerable amount of revenue and net profit as well. And they would be the ones who still have some access to technological tools, and they've been able to get the benefit of the advancement. Whereas the small companies are the ones, the small mom and pop stores are the ones ones which have lagged the access of technological tools, which we think we can provide. And I think we'll be able to attract them the best from our Sari POC model as well.
Just one more thing. The VBIS Pro model that we're offering, that is specifically focused for the medium enterprises. And also, as mentioned in this Gantt chart, we'll be focusing we'll be shifting our focus to tier 4 and 5 cities as we go ahead with this strategy. As I earlier explained as well, this is a long-term strategy and must be carried out in phases for its effective and efficient implementation.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I think that's the end of the question and answer. Thank you, everyone. Now the judges will stay in the room to deliberate, and their team, we will put you in the waiting room and to bring you back for the feedback session in around 8 minutes. Thank you.